It seems to be true. Unless I'm blind? No, I think this is true. Okay, cool. All right, what's going on, people? What is going on? Hopefully, we can have some better conversations today than we did yesterday. Also, I was correct, and today's stream will be longer than yesterday's and the day before. Not by a ton, but longer, for sure. What's going on, Gavin?
What's up, man? So, like, I'm a Democrat, right? But I just had a question, like, who do you think would be a better candidate for 2028? Like, Gavin Newsom or Kamala? Or,
Who'd be a better candidate?
yeah.
In what regard? That I would give them both different. I would give them both credits in different areas. Just electability, like who would have a better chance of winning?
Yeah. Like, who would be, like, in your opinion, like, who would be the better
I don't
president?
even know. Probably Newsom in electability, but in terms of just like, I would definitely give them different points in different areas.
Okay. So I've heard a lot, like, bad things about Gavin Newsom, but I didn't really look into him that much, so.
Yeah, I think so. The reason I say electability because I feel like he'd like. I mean, like Kamala's tried and true. Like we ran her, she lost. Gavin hasn't had a chance. Maybe he would have a better chance of winning. But I feel like at least in my eyes, he has a lot of negatives. There's a lot of drawbacks to that guy. So it may, like if you were asking me who I'd rather be the president, I would say Kamala probably. But
Yeah.
electability wise, Gavin probably has a leg up.
Okay, because I feel like I heard that Gavin Newsom will probably win some of the swing states
Maybe.
because I know Kamala didn't win a lot of them or any at all. But
None of them yet. Yeah, that is the issue. Like Kamala has like the problem is you can point to a track record with her. You can just point to like, well, she did run and she did lose by, she like electoral college wise, she lost by a lot. Won no swing states at all.
yeah,
But I don't know if I'd want Gavin Newsom to be the president. To be honest with you.
yeah. All right, man. Well, thank you, man. I was just wondering.
No problem.
All right, you have a good one.
I'll see you around. Okay, bring me an actual disagreeer. Oh, we have another guest request. Sick. That's good.
Hey, how you doing today?
What's going on, Jay?
Oh, pretty good. Just walked up and heard just a bit of your conversation talking about electability. Yeah, I think my personal opinion probably is, particularly with recent politics, finding someone who's kind of fresh and new seems to be a good strategy a lot because it's the baggage, and Gavin Newsom has a very long track record in California, and that's going to be attacked a lot. And when you're really looking at the end of the day, as you kind of mentioned there just a second ago, it's really about a small portion of swing voters in swing states.
Yeah.
And you want someone who can come out as quite moderate. And I think Gavin will have a hard time with that with his California record. I think his record's too liberal probably for those swing voters. It's always easier to portray yourself a little different if you have a relatively small footprint in politics. And we've seen that from Clinton coming from we see that with Obama. He had a very short track record as a senator and stuff. And
well, shit, dude. The best
he's
example
got
to
personality,
point
also
to is just Trump. Like Trump was the perfect candidate in a lot. Trump was the perfect candidate in a lot of ways because he could just represent himself as whatever he wanted to. Because there's no track record. He had never been in politics. You can't point to anything to say like, well, he's lying about wanting to do that because look at what he did in his own state. Well, motherfucker never did anything in government, so he could just lie and say he wanted whatever he wanted to say.
Exactly. That's first time around, though. Second time around, we should have been a little smarter.
It's a little bit harder the second time to make those arguments of like, well, I want this. We're like, well, you had a whole 4 years and you didn't even fucking try to do that, so.
Yeah, no, and he definitely kind of flips and flops around, and it's hard to pin him down. And quite frankly, I think my personal, I'm very much an independent, moderate centrist. My belief is what we really need to get back to, which is going to be very hard, is conversations of compromise, because that's kind of how government democracies have to work. And I think that the liberal platforms the last 15, 20 years, the far left liberal platforms have hurt the liberals' ability to win the moderate middle. And I think that's going to be a continued problem for him. I think Gavin has definitely. Kamala tried to position herself. She did a great job. Once she was nominated, she really talked, centrist. That was her speech. She was kind of disadvantaged by a lot of the things that the Democrats did to not set her up for success. Right? Biden should have stepped down a little earlier, and she could have had a year and a half being president, which generally bumps your general electability, particularly if you're only in there a year or 2 years. People know you as president, don't know too much bad. There's not enough bad stuff yet that comes out like a second term president tends to have to fight through. So I think that would have, but she really tried to position herself as a centrist when you listen to her Democratic, convention speech. But sadly, it wasn't enough.
Yeah, I mean, she did, but unfortunately for her, I don't think that there was any. I don't really think there was any different posture that she could have taken or any different decisions that could have been made that would have resulted in her actually winning the election, mainly just because the effects of cumulative inflation had like brain rotted or just absolutely mind rotted like a huge portion of the electorate. At that point, like there was probably no Democrat that was going to win in 2024 just because
Yeah, she definitely would have had. And you're right. The average person, the swing voters particularly vote with their pocket.
The average person saw prices go up. Therefore, whatever party's in office right now is out. Like that's just how it goes.
Yeah,
there was. I don't think there was any different combination of circumstance or person to run or what stuff they said that would have changed this particular election.
I don't totally disagree with you. I think she could have been better positioned, though, is what I'm saying. I think she could have been much better positioned with an earlier start.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, but I mean, it's definitely hard. Like you said, that again and again, you see Bush, the first Bush, that's what he lost on. Kind of was there was a little economic recession, right, as he was trying to get into his second term, and he just, it's hard to overcome economic headwinds.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, I appreciate getting on here and chatting with you. You seem like a good host who's got good discussion techniques. It's not yelling and screaming, so I always appreciate that.
Of course. Have a good one, man.
All right, we'll see you.
Yeah. All right, can the next person be a disagreeer, please? Can the next person have a substantive oh boy, we're gonna struggle with this word again, aren't we? Substantive disagreement, please. The fucking circle jerking on things we all agree on is boring, guys. It is. It is nice that like we can have like, I don't want to come off too mean. Like of course it's nice when you can agree and like being able to find common ground is great. But then like once we've had like 7 agreeers in a row, I'm just like, okay, I'm bored now. Someone fight. That's fine, but whatever. And then bring up a good topic. I mean, my topic is Trump's a terrible president who doesn't care about our Constitution and breaks laws, violates the Constitution on almost a daily basis. I don't like. Wait, actually, he actually makes a good point. He's being sarcastic, but he makes a good point. Is the topic thingy still the same? Is it still locked? 1 second. It might actually be the case that my little like topic thing is locked. Fuck, how do you change it? Can you only change the shit at the very beginning of the stream? If that is the case, that is not cool. Not cool. You should put a background, like a text background. I should, but then it just like I don't know. I struggle with the trade-off between like whilst you are totally right, and then also I feel like it makes the like FPS of the camera go way down, and then it just looks awkward, and I don't like it. You know what I mean? But I do get what you're saying. Like, yes, when I see the when I am scrolling through TikTok rarely, but when I scroll, like when I do see like the the debate people, there's always like the prompt behind them. Like, yeah, I get it. But then when you do the like auto green screen thing and then put the text behind you, I feel like it makes the stream so fucking laggy, and it makes my brain hurt. So that's the reason I don't do it. But I do totally understand where you're coming from, and I maybe should. You might just be flat out right, and maybe I just should. I might. Okay, you might be onto something. I might do it. By the way, if you're in the live right now, click the follow button. That's one thing. The one thing I didn't like about TikTok desktop versus like the mobile TikTok live was that I can never see how many followers I've gained in a stream. But then I found out you can just pull up your live stream statistics like in your browser and just look at it, so I can actually see it, which is cool. You can put it up, draw people in, and then remove it. Yeah. I mean, you're in a way, you're not entirely wrong. Yeah, you're not. Yeah. You're not totally wrong. I agree. We do have a guest requester person. But yeah, you're not totally wrong. I get what you're saying. What's up, Matthew?
Hey, what's up?
How's it
It's
going?
good. Do you know the top 4 reasons why people voted? Voter turnout?
Top 4 reasons?
Yeah, the top 4 reasons were inflation, border, economy, and safeguarding democracy.
That's not shocking.
So the fact that Trump has, border crossings down 95%, inflation is down 2.6%. You say you think he's doing some crazy stuff. I think he is doing some crazy stuff.
Is that it?
Yeah, I think he probably has the best 100 days in U.S. president history.
You think
most likely. Yeah. Well, depending on what we voted for and voter turnout, those are your top 4 issues, and they got decimated within 2 months.
Gotcha. Okay, so we'll go one at a time then. So inflation is 1. Border is the 2nd, right?
Mm-hmm.
What did you say the 3rd was?
Economy.
Gotcha. And election, or was it election
Safeguarding
integrity?
democracy.
Safeguarding democracy. Okay.
And these have all kind of mixed up between the last 3 months because border now is not an issue, so it went down. But at the time of the election, border was the number 1 issue.
I feel like it was the economy at the time, almost certainly. But okay.
Well, it depends where. I mean, I got it from Atlas Intel, which I believe is the most accurate pollster over the last decade. So that's where I got it from. But that's what they said: border, inflation, economy, safeguarding democracy, in that order. As of November, now those have kind of changed over the last, 3, 4, 5 months.
Okay, maybe. All right, let's see. Let's go through them. Inflation. We're gonna do inflation last. I do have logical reason for that. The border is the only one where we'll go like most pushback to least pushback, right? For the border, I don't really have any pushback for you because border crossings are down a metric ass ton. My criticism wouldn't be in the results; it would be in the methodology for border. That's why I think it's the easiest one to start with. Whilst border crossings are down, the way he got them down, kind of wild. Yeah.
It's what the American people wanted, though.
Yeah. People did want less illegal border crossings. That's true. I agree. I just don't necessarily think that getting to a result by any possible means is really ever going to be the right call. Well, sorry. By any possible means is necessarily always correct, right? Let's say, like, you could say that the American people overwhelmingly, like, say, like, 100% of people wanted, like, Russia to be gone. And then I would say, like, a president coming into office and instantly just shooting our whole nuclear arsenal at Russia is not a good, that's still a bad thing, okay? Like, the people wanted it.
I agree.
But you can't just give the people everything they want if what they want is fucking crazy. You know what I mean? So,
what is illegal immigration?
No, I'm not saying like crazy? I'm not saying reducing illegal immigration is crazy. I'm saying like your argument can't just be, well, the people wanted it. Okay, well, the people can want something that's bad.
Real
the
quick,
argument doesn't really track.
How manipulated and crazy do people have to be to say border crossings were going down because of Biden and Kamala Harris?
What do you mean by that?
How can I honestly think that these people don't believe that. They just hate Trump so much that they can't give him any credit.
Well, it truly does depend on what time frame you're referring to. Because if you're talking about like the first 3.5 years of his presidency, yeah, you're probably onto something. But if you're talking about like the last couple of months, border crossings did shoot down a lot. But it's because of because
Yeah, and I
it's
find it
because of
funny
him
that
being it's because of him. What I would say, not I would say, it's because he lied about what he had the power to do and not do. Right.
well, I would find it funny that if the border was the number one reason why people voted, and all of a sudden it's getting close to election day, now they can control the border and slow things down in the last 4, 5, 6 months. I think that's manipulating the American people, and I only believe the stupid can be easily manipulated.
Interesting. You only think the stupid could be easily manipulated.
I feel like the smarter you are, the less manipulated you can become. Really.
Right. Okay. I guess I wanted to go through we're gonna riff off that for a second. You do understand that your guy, the guy you came in here to defend today, just did an interview with ABC the other night where he popped off on the guy interviewing him because he thought that the picture that he was given of Abrego Garcia's hands with the MS-13 symbols on them was real, right?
I saw that whole interview, and yeah, I've seen ABC lie before, and I've seen Trump obviously lie before. But I will say this about that hand. There's a picture with the Democratic. Who's the guy who went over there on taxpayer money to go?
I don't remember his name. The whatever one of the
They had a
senators from his
picture of
state.
them at a table together, and he did have those same tattoos on his hand. Now the actual Arial font of MS-13, I think, is being confused because we all know that that was not there.
Well, Trump. It seems like Trump doesn't know that.
I'm pretty sure Trump was talking about the marijuana leaf, the smiley face, the cross, and the death skull on his knuckles.
That's super weird because when the reporter he was talking to said like there's some it's contested what those symbols actually mean. He said no. He's like no. It literally says on his hand MS-13. It literally says it, and he fucking tweaked out about it. So. No,
Right.
He definitely thought that shit was on his fucking hand. So when you talk about like only stupid people can be manipulated, they just handed this motherfucker a picture and that was enough to manipulate him, even though it was pretty clearly just like the words were just pretty clearly typed on there in like fucking 35-point Arial font. Just someone popped into Photoshop and just clicked on the text button and put that on there, and just handing him that picture was enough to manipulate him. So I agree with you that only stupid people can be manipulated, but then I would argue that Trump is a stupid person.
Yeah, well, I believe Trump's talking about the marijuana leaf, the smiley face, the cross next to the skull.
So just to be clear, we can mind read Biden. We could say that the reason he used executive power to get border crossings down towards the end was because he was trying to manipulate the voters. So we can mind read him, but when Trump literally says, like, no, it literally said it, MS-13 on his hand, like we have to give him a charitable mind read. Even though we can't take his words, we can't take his words at face value. We have to mind read him in a charitable way. But you're going to mind read Biden in an uncharitable way. That doesn't make any sense.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying we actually got to look at the weight of the consequences. Biden let millions of people in. Trump sent one guy home.
That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about people's ease of being manipulated. You said only a stupid person can be manipulated. I'm telling you, your guy's a stupid person because he got manipulated by a picture that was probably just handed to him right before a press briefing.
So how'd this get brought up?
Well, you said only stupid people can be manipulated, which I thought was ironic because your president, your boy, gets manipulated almost daily.
Almost daily?
Yeah.
And how's that?
Because his people around him tell him things, and then he's like, "Oh, that must be true." Yeah, of course.
Yeah, no, it is true that he had a marijuana leaf, a skull, a cross, and a smiley face.
I agree, but that's not what Trump said. That's not what we're talking about. That's not what he said in that interview. He said he said it literally says MS-13.
Yeah, interpretation. Yeah, marijuana, smiley face, cross, School.
You see the selective charitability? You see how much charitability you're like, oh well, when he said literally, he didn't actually mean the word literally.
Like you're smart enough to look at the picture yourself.
Member of a gang.
I've seen the picture.
Yeah, like you're smart enough, right?
I've seen the picture.
Now to go on CNN and everyone saying this is a worst stock market crash in history when we're literally down 1.5% since November 4th, that is lying to people. Because Trump
I've never heard anyone say that it's the worst stock market crash in history. I've heard it's the worst market crash since the 2020 COVID crash, which is factually true.
Well, two things about that. You must not really be on TikTok that much on the left.
No, I don't watch TikTok. It's a waste of time.
Yeah, well,
which is ironic.
That's fine. And to talk about Biden's COVID crash, Biden's economy did not go up for over 400 days with the S&P 500 from January 2022 to mid 2023, and you can look that up right now.
Do you know that Biden market crash you just talked about happened while Trump was president?
No growth.
You know that you just said Biden's market crash. You know that happened while Trump was president? That was March 2020 while Donald Trump was still the president.
2022.
Biden was president in 2022.
Okay, so what are you saying?
But the humongous the absolute massive market crash that happened as a result of COVID was in mid to late March of 2020 while Trump was president.
Yeah, and it bounced back within 3 weeks, just like the one did right here.
Yeah, and then the economy was at peak when Biden. The economy was literally peaking when Biden handed it over to Trump, and then he instantly caused another crash.
Wait, what are you talking about? Because if we can, let's pull up the graph right now
of the market
of the S&P 500.
Okay.
And let's go last 5 years. Okay, before Trump even left office, it wasn't declining. It was actually already fully rebounded. By 2022, if you look at that, almost for a year, no growth in the stock market. Not a single ounce of growth. And these are facts, and these are the facts people are actually missing.
What the fuck kind of drugs did you take before you hopped on this fucking shit?
So S&P 500, why don't you show everyone the screen and before you tell me I'm on drugs?
You know I'm streaming on my phone, right?
Yeah, so you're calling me on drugs. Why don't you show everyone the screen here? Because you see the facts. I can literally see the computer reflection in your eyes. And I can see the lying in your eyes.
What did I just say? I said I'm streaming on my phone, and then your next thing was, why don't you show people the screen?
Bro, you can easily turn your fucking phone camera to the left and show people the screen, dude.
Here, if you're watching on Twitch or YouTube, there's my screen. Okay, what's your point? I don't understand. The market crash, this market crash between in 2022.
2 points
is not indicative. It's bad that the market crashed.
We saw the first crash in March 2020, like you were saying. It was fully rebounded before Trump even left office. Secondly, 2022, there was a crash that there was no stock growth for almost over a year. And why is this pissing you off? This is just facts.
Bro, because I don't get how you have the fucking nuts to use your argument is that, oh yeah, well when Trump crashed the market, it rebounded, which is totally true. Yeah. It's totally true. You're absolutely 100%. Biden had market crashes during his presidency as well. And then when he left office, it was totally rebounded as well to peak all time.
I agree, dude. Okay, me and you both agree on that. But the fact is that crash was a year long in 2022. But you guys want to make this sound like Donald Trump crashed the stock market, and you know it.
Well, he did crash the stock market this time. Is that
it's 1.5% down compared to November 4th. It's 1.5%.
Let me ask you: Is it in dispute that he caused the stock market crash in April?
Dude, look at April 1st compared to April 30th.
I'm gonna need a yes or no response. Is it in dispute that he caused a stock market crash
in April?
Yes.
So the 30 days of April. No, I believe a crash is
Starting
anything
from
over-
February, he caused one on his Liberation Day.
So
but-
you're picking his highest point and you're picking his lowest point. But
well, I
what
mean,
you should
if
be
we just
doing
go
is
to
taking the
January 20th,
present-
the day he came in office, it's been that. Other than we're rebounding now, but it was down fucking hill from when he came in.
Yeah, it was down for literally a day and then it bounced back. So
It was
I'm just
down
sorry
for a
you
day.
guys
Okay, I'm gonna
over-
see. Here we go. So it starts. We start collapsing on February 10th. The bounce back doesn't start until April 1st. A day.
Okay, so President-elect Trump had the highest stock market in history.
President-elect Trump had the highest stock market in history.
Yes.
Well, I think President Biden had the highest stock market in history.
Well, how can you explain on literally election day the stock market going up 5-6% just because Trump won?
Biden was president.
Yeah, you see the huge jump from November 4th to 5th.
But
You wanna show that?
Biden was the president, though.
Yeah, and guess who president-elect was? Yeah.
So when
so what,
I do
dude?
remember Trump on the day he got elected, there was a big bump, right? Because people thought he was going to be better on the economy, so we get a big
Great.
bump. Ultimately, the stock market is just a reflection of people's feelings about the market, right? People think things are going to go well for the economy in the future, they invest. People think things are going to go bad, they sell off. That's ultimately our market is just a reflection of the opinion of the economy. Okay.
So why don't the
So when
liberal
he
media say
when
that?
he got elected, people were like, "Oh, now's a good time to get in because our economy is going to be great under Trump." That was the opinion at the time, right? That doesn't mean jack diddly dick about the results of him. So like when people can think like, "Oh, it's going to be good because he's got elected now," and then he can get in and do stupid ass shit like worldwide tariffs, and then we get a crash.
Oh, that's the next thing we can talk about. 16 billion in April from tariffs. I'm not seeing major inflation like you were telling me. Actually, inflation's down. So we took in $16 billion and inflation is down.
Where's your where are you getting your numbers from?
What, 16 billion?
No, I don't care about the. We're gonna like we.
The
There's gonna be
inflation or-
be an income from tariffs. Yeah, that's gonna be the case.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you need from me? Inflation down at 2.6?
Yeah.
Okay.
It might be. I just haven't seen our inflation numbers.
You can type it in. Inflation down at 2.6, the lowest since September.
What do you think about
And
the
there's-
GDP contraction?
I think we imported a lot of things, which causes GDP contraction.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know why that doesn't make sense at all?
I don't know. You can tell the Economist where I got that from.
What economist did you? What Fox News economist told you that?
I don't know what liberal news economist told you that. Because me personally, I think a bad economy is when rent doubles, when food prices double, when gas is up to $5-6. I think that's a bad economy. When the value of the dollar goes down, I think that's a bad economy. Not when we're taking $16 billion from other countries and inflation is going down. So there's no way you can convince me that.
Wait,
we're
can you?
in a
I'm
bad
not trying to
economy.
cut you off. Can you go back like 2 sentences and then repeat?
Yeah. I think a bad economy is when rent doubles, when housing prices almost double, when gas goes up to $5 or $6 a gallon, when you got illegal immigration flooding our borders, and all these certain things, grocery prices doubling and the value of the dollar weakening. I think that's a bad economy. Am I seeing that right now? Fuck no.
Okay, you didn't
Seeing the opposite.
you didn't repeat the part I wanted you to repeat. I just wanted to hear you.
What'd I
just
miss?
I just want to stream to hear you say it again. You said we took in $16 billion from other countries,
Yeah, in the month of April.
and I just wanted stream to see that you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
15.9 billion. Yeah, I have the source for you right here if you need
Well,
it.
the number isn't important. The number could be 700 billion, or it could be 1 million, or it could be 2,000. It doesn't matter. The part that's important is the took in from other countries part. So then I'm just like, oh, he doesn't know how tariffs work. That's unfortunate.
So how do I not know how tariffs work?
Well, other countries don't pay the tariffs.
Yeah, they do, and they just pass it on to us. But so real quick, so you're saying I don't know what I'm talking about, we have all these tariffs, right?
Lucy,
And they
come
get passed to the consumers. Why are we seeing inflation drop? Everyone in the comments, why are we seeing inflation dropping? We have tariffs right now, active tariffs, $16 billion. They're getting passed on to us. Why have we not
Hold
seen...
up, don't skip over the...
Why have we not seen inflation?
I had to mute my mic to get my dog. She was barking at a neighbor. But I want to go back to the other countries pay the tariffs thing.
Yeah, so...
Because you're tripping balls on that one.
Inflation is coming down. So how are we paying the tariffs at this point?
Are you saying... your logic is so just all over the place.
No,
how are we paying the tariffs?
Dude.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
Dumb.
Tell me why... Tell me how we, like, American importers aren't the ones that actually pay the tariffs.
Have you gone to the grocery store?
Yeah.
Okay, so you've seen a 10-20% increase, even though inflation is showing 2.6, the lowest it's been since September. While we have these tariffs taking in $16 billion.
You're not going to see a 1-to-1 for what. Like, there's two things I got to say. You're not going to see a 1-to-1. It's not going to be if he tariffs something coming in. It's going to or at 10%. You're going to see a 10% growth in the price.
Well, that's what you guys are saying.
That's not what I'm saying. You see what you're doing is you're trying to argue with like left-leaning media, but you're not debating. Stop. You're not debating left-leaning media right now. You're debating me. So if I didn't say it, I don't want to hear this fucking bullshit of that's what you guys say. Well, I didn't say it. I'm saying.
Let me get it right.
Well, right now I'm just saying that it's not going to be 1-to-1. If you tariff something at 10%, you're not going to see a 10% growth in prices every time, right? That's for one. So no, I don't expect to walk in and see 10-15% on everything going up. That would be kind of goofy. Secondly, we get these reports. These reports don't come in second to second. We get these reports monthly, sometimes quarterly.
Reports?
Sometimes yearly. All economic data comes in. Sometimes monthly, sometimes quarterly, sometimes even fucking yearly. So when he signs these big tariff executive orders implementing worldwide tariffs in April, and then on March 1st, you're like, well, this is all the numbers on the tariffs. No, it's not. Actually, none of it is. None of it's the numbers on the tariffs because tariffs haven't gone. We haven't taken in the data from post-effective tariff, from a post-tariff economy.
So the reason I asked which reports, that April report of $15.9 billion literally came out, I think yesterday.
Well, I'm not talking about the tariff numbers coming in. We are going to get the federal government is 100% going to gain some amount of money from tariffs. Naturally, that has to be the case. If he imposes a tariff, then when Amazon goes to bring their shit in from China and they have to pay a tariff, that's going to the federal government. So you're just saying, well, we took in $16 billion. Yes, we're going to take in money from tariffs. No one's ever said that that's not the case. Like the federal government will gain money from the tariffs. That is a fact. And I'm not arguing.
Maybe you can explain this to me. All right, you're saying it's not 1-to-1. Obviously not. It's not 1-to-1. That's what liberal media is saying, but that's not what Andrew's saying. So, two questions. What do you think it is? Is it 1-to-2? Is it 1-to-5? And lastly, we collected $15.9 billion, and the inflation is down to 2.6. So why are you arguing against tariffs?
Well, because tariffs on their world. So I'm not actually arguing against tariffs. There's selective tariffs that even like if I was the fucking king of the United States, there's selective tariffs that even I would implement on national security items, like are pretty much anything in our defense industry. I would tariff stuff like chips. I would tariff So I'm not blanket fuck tariffs. That's not my opinion. Like there's tariffs I would do. I'm against broad market-wide tariffs on everything and on like every country, for sure. Secondly, you said what will the rate be? I said it's not 1-to-1 because it isn't. You can't pinpoint the exact rate of consumer inflation, like what a consumer is going to pay because or how much more a consumer is going to pay because of a tariff. If he puts a 10% tariff on, say, everything from China, let's say that was what it was, flat rate, 10%, everything out of the country. It's not going to be the case that every product that has some manufacturing that occurs in China is going to go up 10% in price. That logic wouldn't even track, because it could be the case that maybe there's a product that is 90% made in the US, like 90% of the thing is built in the US, but there's one thing that China makes that we have to import from them for this product, right? So we import that. There's a 10% tariff on that, but that's not going to make the price of the total completed good go up by 10%. That wouldn't even make sense. Like if it were the case, I know it isn't the case, but if it were the case that Apple made like 3/4 of the iPhone was made in the US. Again, I know it's not. But if 3/4 of the iPhone was made in the US, but then they had to get like a couple of like the internal like circuitry parts from China at a 10% tariff rate, they're not going to raise the price of the entire iPhone 10%. There's going to be some calculation there of like, okay, how much are we actually paying? Now let's put that into the consumer price. So
yeah, that makes perfect sense. What I do want to talk about is countries investing here in a corporate tax rate and Trump wanting to cut the tax rate. So here's what I believe. I believe billionaires look everything as a dollar sign. They have equations, and if they see that tax is cheaper in America and they're going to profit more in America, they're going to get their shit and move, even if the moving expense are going to take in the moving expense, operating expense, and they're going to find bottom line numbers. If they can make more money in America, they will. So with Trump wanting to cut taxes on corporations on top of tariffing them if they don't make it here in the USA, what do you have a problem with that?
generally speaking, I have not. Let's say this. I don't necessarily always, not 100% of the time, do I have a issue with cutting taxes. Like, I'm not always going to be anti-cutting taxes. There are certain ways you could go about cutting taxes that I will be against. And when the biggest time you'll see that from me, at least, is when you want to cut taxes while simultaneously adding to the budget. I'm pretty much always going to be against that. Currently, Trump's budget plan would raise our expenditures by a decent amount while simultaneously cutting our revenue in the form of taxes, which I think is fucking stupid.
Okay, so you're more concerned about the debt.
I'm not I wouldn't even necessarily say I'm ultra concerned with the debt, like as a whole, as a conglomerate, but I do think there is a point in which the debt is going to be completely unmanageable. I don't necessarily know what that point is. Generally speaking, so long as your debt, like the debt number almost doesn't even matter to a certain degree, as long as GDP growth continues at a commensurate rate. So if our debt increases, but our GDP, or say like our debt goes up by 20%, but our GDP raises by 90%, well, it's like, okay, then the debt going up by 20% doesn't really matter because our country is bringing in more, like we're making more anyway. So it doesn't really matter. My issue is going to be when we don't really know what that number is. Like I said, there's going to be a number where the debt is just unmanageable. We just can't fucking deal with it anymore. And adding an ass load to the deficit year after year before we figured out what that number is going to end up being is probably not smart. This probably isn't a good idea.
Wouldn't you think us not paying our debt would just end up in one way, and that would be us going to war with probably China?
If we stopped paying our debt, would that result in us going
No,
to war with China?
you're saying there's going to be a point. You're saying there's going to be a point where the debt is just too much. You don't know where that point is. But I believe it's only going to end one way, and that's with war.
Like, that's your contention. You think it's just going to end with us fighting China, no matter what?
Yeah, and I believe that's why Trump is doing what he's doing right now with these tariffs, so he can slow them down from, overcoming, beating us economically in slave labor.
Okay. The unfortunate part about that, even if that was the case, let's say you're completely right. His actual internal motivation is that he just wants to hurt China because he thinks at some point we're going to go to war with China, so we need to hurt them now so that we have a better chance against them later, right? Okay, let's say that's his idea. What he's doing is not going to accomplish that at all. It just isn't.
Have you seen the turmoil in China?
I've seen Trump fucking tweaking every day, like lying and saying that, oh yeah, we're talking to China, we're gonna make a deal, we're cutting a deal, China's they've called me like 10 times.
He was lying about the Ukraine shit, and they just struck a deal with Ukraine about minerals because Biden gave them a $350 billion loan, and they didn't have pay back one ounce.
When did I say he was lying about the Ukraine shit?
No, not you, bro. No.
Okay. All right. Media. But you're talking to me, right? So we don't care what the liberal media says.
Well, I'm talking to you, and
I'm not sitting here like, well, the conservative media said this. Well, the conservative media said I've not said that once, and I wouldn't say that because that's dumb. That's a fucking stupid ass thing to say, isn't it? Because you didn't say that. So why in an argument against you would I bring that up? That doesn't make sense.
Very true.
Okay. So I didn't say that he lied about I didn't say anything about him lying about Ukraine. He's said since he got in, he said before he got in, he said now he's trying to make a deal. And the thing is, I've seen him try to make a deal. I don't think it's a good deal for Ukraine, but I've seen him every day, or frequently trying to make a deal here. Okay, so I wouldn't be saying that he's lying. Okay, he did say he was going to do it on day one, and he didn't. But how much can you really? Like, we all knew what was going to happen on day one. Anyway, that wasn't the point. The thing with China, the thing that I need to come back to this. The thing you said about his ultimate goal is to use the tariffs to hurt China. Every single day he's been on TV, like, or damn near every day. Like, yeah, we're every time he's on TV, reporters ask him this question, like, what about China? Like, where are we at with making a deal with them? And he's like, yeah, we're talking to them. I've talked to them a few times. And then you cut over to China, and their people are just like, no, we haven't talked to Trump. We're not going to talk to Trump. We're not making a deal. Fuck you.
Yeah, I don't think he's in a rush to do any business with China. I believe India and all these other countries. I don't think China has the ultimate say here. China doesn't use our products. We use theirs. We don't this is my whole thing with China. If they don't use our products and we only use theirs, but we also have 100 other countries' products that we use, they're making money off of us. We're not making money off of them.
Like, if we import more than they import, like if we import more from them than they're importing from us.
They don't buy our goods. We buy their goods.
Yeah, you're just describing a trade deficit.
Yeah, exactly. But we also have 100 other countries who can produce what China produces. India.
Yeah, India is a manufacturing superpower. Sure. Why would your concern then? Why I don't understand. Here's the thing I don't understand about this argument. All right. Is that why would your argument not just translate over to India in 20 years then? If your argument is that China, we need to slow down China because there's some threat to us, but so instead we'll just switch over to working with India. Why does that argument in 2 decades or 3 decades? Why should India not become the big bad wolf now?
All right, perfect. Yeah. So if China is catching up at an exponential rate, can you still hear me?
Yeah, sorry. I had to put my fucking do not disturb on my phone.
Okay, if China's catching up at an exponential rate and we can slow them down and then have India, who's much further behind 20 years, like you said, then go, and then maybe someone else becomes the new India. It's all about slowing everyone down, to be honest. He's trying to put America first.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And people want to say China is way past us. You guys are only looking at Shanghai, and I'm not talking about you, host. I'm reading these comments. You only look at the biggest, nicest cities in China. Go to rural China and see what the average quality of life is.
Yeah, okay. Listen. Don't worry about them. They're gonna say what they're gonna say. Don't worry about the chat. All right. Let me ask you this. Sorry. Let me ask you this. Let's say I take every argument you've made at absolute face value, and I concede that you're completely right. Like, you've actually perfectly mind-read Trump. His ultimate goal, like everything he's done, is just to hurt other countries, slow them down, make sure that we stay on top and they stay below. Okay, sure, take that argument. Why has every action he's taken been done in the most, and I mean this with the utmost sincerity? Why is every action that he's taken done in the most easily reversible way possible, which is just executive ordering his way into every fucking decision? When he has the majority in Congress, and he can enshrine a lot of this shit into law if he really wanted to. But every action he's taken has been done via executive order, which will all get reversed the second he's not president anymore.
Well, I would say if all these executive orders are going real well, I would doubt. I would just be so disappointed if these executive orders are going real well. We're having a great economy, and someone else comes in and reverses that.
That's not responsive to the question. If it is the case that he wants all these things he wants to change America in a fundamental long-term way, the man he's got a super majority in the Supreme Court, and he has the majority of Congress. He could do 90% of this shit. There's some stuff where he would just have to executive order it, but there are like a lot of the things that he's done that could be done legislatively, and that would be way, way, way harder to undo. Like, if he enshrined these things into law, he could. He's just not. And why isn't he? Is the question.
Because I believe that he wants to get shit done fast as possible. Some of those things weren't going to pass, but needed to be done. like illegal immigration, writing executive order on that the first day with the Aliens Act or whatever. Like this shit just had to be done.
You know, the Alien Enemies Act is a piece of congressional legislation. So that was the worst example you could have brought up of him doing something.
Okay, well I'm
he
sorry
didn't do
about
that via executive power. That is a law that he used. He used it illegally,
my main point is that time to get as much shit done in the little most amount of time as possible. You transform a country that's been invaded over the last 4 years.
But then none of it's permanent. Then everything that let's say it is the case that actually we just can't see it right now, but everything he is doing is causing causing great improvements. Wouldn't you want those improvements to be long term? Wouldn't you, if he is going to improve the country, wouldn't you want to keep that forever?
Yeah, and I hope the American people do too. And I hope we want to invite someone into the White House who would want to take away long-term gain.
I understand that part of your argument. What I'm saying is, he could do these things in a long-term way via legislation. Even after it, okay, let me even take in the second part of your argument and use it. If it is the case that he what he was looking for was speed, he could executive order a lot of these things and then get Congress on passing legislation for it. He could say like, okay, I'm going to do it for now via executive order, and then right after I do something via executive order, I'm going to have, because I have a majority in Congress, I'm going to have them start working on a bill for it. So that way it's enshrined permanently. Or, bills can be overturned, but it's much harder to do that than to just cancel an executive order. So why not do that? But he hasn't. He's not doing that at all. What's the reason?
He is doing that. It's 2-3 months into his presidency. Maybe that. I believe what he's honestly trying to do is, if the American people see greatness in these executive orders that can easily be turned the other way if someone else gets in office, I believe the American people, if it's going great, will just keep voting for the same type of people who believe in what Trump's doing.
But wouldn't you call that arrogant and stupid? You're saying that he thinks that people are going to love all of his executive orders so much that he doesn't even need to do things the right way. Like, he doesn't even need to do things the safe way because it's just, no one's ever going to overturn my executive orders. They would never. This dude has so much power right now to enshrine some of these things like into our law, but he's just not gonna because he doesn't think anyone's ever gonna touch his executive orders. That doesn't make sense. I would just call that arrogant and dumb.
Okay, well, two things. I mean, is it arrogant if it's actually what's best for Americans? And
even if it is what's best, it's still arrogant as fuck to assume that nobody's ever gonna touch it.
And no one's going to agree 100% on anything, but we can say that the top 4 reasons why people came out to vote this year was, number 1 was a border. So it's all about having the majority. We don't care if the fucking crazy 5% want open borders completely, because that's not what the majority wants.
Still not responsive to what I asked, but we'll go with it.
It's all about the majority. That's where people who vote for Kamala are getting fucked up, because they're literally demonizing people in the middle, people on the right, and people not far enough to the left, which is pushing everyone to the right. Because not a lot of people agree with men and women's sports, open borders, and a lot of these crazy things are, I just saw Gays for Palestine. That's like ants for ant spray. They behead people in Palestine for being LGBTQ.
I understand. Stuff like that is goofy when I see it. It's goofy. Yeah, there's certainly some goofy
I'm a
shit on the
piece
left.
of shit for calling that out.
Well, I mean, just pointing out the irony of it, I don't think is like, you could point out the irony of a thing. You'd be like, that's super ironic for that group of people to be supporting that group of people, and that group of people would kill that group of people. Like, yeah, okay, sure. You can point out the irony if you want. That doesn't really have anything to do with
changes for kids, dude. Smex changes for kids.
No one's arguing that there aren't some policies on the left that probably need to be dropped, or some talking points on the left that probably need to be thrown away because they're just not electorally viable. They're just fucking stupid and they need to go.
Don't demonize people.
No one's arguing. Well, it's gonna happen. Okay, I don't know what to tell you. It's gonna happen. It's human nature. Demonize the other side. It's human nature. This is gonna happen.
Can you tell me some of the extremes on the right that you see a bunch? Because that's the shit I see a bunch, And maybe me is on the right. I can admit to some things that are extremely far right, but I just don't think there's any as like nearly as much compared to what I just named off.
If Trump ran for a third term, would you vote for him?
If he ran for vice president to
No,
JD
if he
Vance,
ran for president.
JD Vance
If he ran for president, would you vote for him a third time?
No, I don't think so. But I do have a problem with Congress people staying in office 50 years. I don't think 8 years is a perfect number. I don't know what's perfect, to be honest.
Okay, so if he was on the presidential ticket in 2028, you wouldn't vote for him on the base. You would straight up just abstain from. You'd be like, nope, not going to vote for him because that's unconstitutional.
I honestly think that if Obama ran 2028, yeah, I'd vote for Donald Trump.
Well, yeah, because at that point it's the same bullshit on both sides. So of course, yeah. Then
but no other reason.
Make your pick.
No.
So only if another Democrat that had 2 terms. Okay. All right. Okay. I've asked that question.
Is there any other like alt-right shit like that? Because you see on the left, most people agree with some of that stuff, like free Palestine. That's why you
like. There's people that argue for crazy shit on both sides. Yeah, I would say sweeping for constitutional violations. That's why I asked you about that one in particular, because it's just really easy. Like it's so clear. We can just say like, would you fucking, would you vote for him a third time? That's a clear, So I would say sweeping for constitutional violations is a huge thing on the right that I see a lot of. Christian nationalism, just as a whole. Yeah, those people are fucking crazy. Yeah.
What's so bad about the 10 Commandments?
What's so bad about the 10 Commandments?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Okay, so like I get there's like this Christian nationalism thing, and no one's perfect, and quite frankly, a lot of Christians aren't perfect, and people don't like hypocrites. But I mean, what's so bad about Christian nationalism?
Okay,
if that's what we were
definitionally it's not though. Definitionally, we're supposed to be a country that has freedom of religion and has a separation of church and state. So saying everything in our country should be based on Christianity is on its face, it goes against everything we're founded on.
Yeah, but I'm just who's doing that? Who's pushing that?
You haven't seen any right-wing Christian nationalists anywhere? That part of that sect of your party just has evaded you?
My question is, you can see that probably if you take, liberals as Democratic Party, that most of them are going to agree on these topics. I'm just asking for a topic where most of Republicans that you guys see as alt-right agree on.
I don't know. Maybe chat can throw some names. I don't know if I've seen a lot of generally, like for questions like this, my go-to would be to look at Congress. And I don't know how many Christian nationalist congressmen and women there are. I don't know if I've seen so many. So then I think I would just return to the sweeping for constitutional violations, because that's your whole party top to bottom. So
okay, yeah, I mean, I can agree with that. I don't think the Constitution is perfect. Obviously, that's why we're always changing it. This has been talked about a bunch. I don't think 40 million people, or however million people that entered our borders over the last 4 years, came in with no due process, didn't want to wait, but now we got to wait for them with our taxpayer dollars, fund their attorneys, when we already know they're undocumented, because you can check in a system that's very easy with just a simple social security number. Waste all that time to deport those people. I think it's severely inefficient, and I don't think it's a constitutional crisis at all, because I'm pretty sure Obama deported millions of people.
Yes, he deported a lot of people, but he did it the right way. All right, well, let me pick off a couple of those
things.
Did he
put people in cages?
I don't. It doesn't mean anything. Maybe. He might. I literally don't know. But we didn't see we didn't see lawsuits coming in like, this dude literally just fucking threw me in the back of a van and threw me out of the country. Like, we never.
Or literally, you got Obama 20.
Is Obama the president right now?
No, but you got him agreeing.
So Obama's not the president right now. So let me go through before I forget what all you said when you did your fucking monologue. Let me go through and pick off a couple of things. First of all, you said that one of the things you said you had a problem with was funding their lawyers. people going through immigration courts. Immigration court is not an Article 3 court, therefore, and you're not being tried for a crime. Therefore, you do not get Sixth Amendment rights, meaning the government doesn't have to provide you an attorney. So we don't fund their lawyers in immigration court. They must retain their own lawyer or be their own lawyer. And then secondly, the whole predicate of your argument is based on, well, they came in with no due process, so we shouldn't give them due process on the way out. Let me ask you this. If I walk outside and shoot somebody, did I give that person due process before I executed them? It's just a yes or no.
No.
But then when I'm arrested and go to court, I'm going to be given due process though. So the way we determine who gets due process and who doesn't, we take that from the Constitution. We don't take that from whether or not you gave your victim. In this case, what you would say for an illegal immigrant is that their victim is the state, the country in this case. Their victim, they didn't give their victim due process, so therefore they don't get due process. That's not how shit works here. You just get it no matter what.
You're comparing illegal immigration to murder, though, which is not a good comparison.
Yeah, murder's a lot worse, for sure.
Yeah, and another thing is I believe due process is great. I don't think you should be able to take people to jail or prison and take away their rights and make them a slave. But this is different when you're just simply sending someone back to where they came from. You're not sending them to jail. You're not making them a slave to America. Due process is for American citizens who go to jail here, not illegal immigrants who go back home to their country.
Oh shit! I need to like get out my notepad and start writing down while you're talking, because the problem is you just like spew like 10 things that are wrong in every sentence you like go out. Okay, so due process is not for people that go to jail in America. Let me ask you this: are you or are you not given due process in a civil lawsuit?
I said due process is for people who go to jail. Civil lawsuit, yeah.
You're given due process. So
I don't think you go to jail for civil lawsuit. No,
you don't go to jail, but you still get due process. Right?
Yeah.
So that's not, so you're wrong there. It's not just if jail's on the table, that's when you get due process. And it doesn't even have to be an actual court, like due process isn't just for in court, huh?
Is illegal immigration civil?
Yes, technically.
We should fix that.
Sure. If you want to add like criminal penalties to being in the country unlawfully, sure. That's fine.
I mean, why wouldn't we? Like, why are we in? This is my whole problem with the immigration system and all these people defending it. Let's say Andrew, me, and you were at the southern border. You got people of America saying, as long as you can sneak in our borders, you get all these rights. And me, I want to stay back. I want to wait the 4 or 5 years, do it right. Who do you think's more? What's more of an incentive?
What's more of an incentive?
Yeah, to wait the 5 years or to try and sneak in. Hey, as long as you can sneak in, you can get all these rights. You just got to sneak past our borders. You think that's the most efficient? You think that's the smartest way to deter illegal immigration?
No, there's like a million better ways to deter illegal immigration.
I would say it's the opposite. I would say it's incentivizing illegal immigration, especially, and this is where I can't stand.
I'm not. Do you understand? Like, well, hold on. Before we even continue, I need to hear you give me a yes or no answer here. Do you understand that I am not arguing for illegal immigration in our current system? I'm good with immigration reform. I think there's a couple immigration reform measures that need to be taken. I'm arguing for continuing to give the Constitution the respect it deserves.
When it comes to illegal immigration,
when it comes to literally, and I'm not even. This is another one of those scenarios where I need to say it out loud. I am not fucking around when I say this. Literally everything. When it comes to literally everything, if it's written in the Constitution, we follow it. No matter what, no matter how you feel about it. You may fucking hate illegal immigration. You find out your neighbor's an illegal immigrant and you fucking call ICE right away. Like you hate them that much. You might be in that position where you just fucking hate illegal immigrants, and that's. I'd say wrong, but whatever. We'll skip over it. It's whatever. Fine. That doesn't mean dick when it comes to what's written in the Constitution, though. Your opinion and your feelings mean jack diddly fuck. Isn't your side your side of the aisle started the facts don't care about your feelings? No, you started the facts don't care about your feelings shit. I'm telling you right now, the fucking Constitution doesn't give a shit how you feel about illegal immigrants. It doesn't.
Okay, and see that's where our problem is because people are interpreting this amendment differently. You know, some people are saying it's U.S. citizens. Some people are saying it's anybody gets the rights of our Constitution. So, what I would ask you next is: do people that live in Africa, Mexico, Saudi Arabia get our U.S. constitutional rights?
By the way, I just want to point out, I'll answer your question. Well, I'll answer it first, and then I'm going to say what I was going to say. People living in other countries don't get constitutional rights. Secondly, when you say that some people interpret it one way, some people interpret it the other way. The people you're referring to that interpret that everyone gets constitutional rights in America is the United States Supreme Court, the body that is designed to do this, to interpret the Constitution. So
okay, great. So what's going on with the Supreme Court about facilitating, like what's this constitutional crisis we're in right now? Have they even decided on this versus U.S. citizens versus anyone on on here? Have they even decided on who gets
due process? Yes, not only have they decided about it, but like 2 dozen
and when
times.
did they do it?
Like 2 dozen times. Okay, I'll give you a couple as we go down the. Okay, so in 2025, this year, we got a Supreme Court decision on JGG versus Trump, which concluded that everyone in the United States has due process rights. We got Bridges versus Wixon in 1945, determining the same thing.
Ruling, that recent one. Do you know the ruling on it? Was it 7-2? What was it?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, I'm serious. I don't know. Yeah.
So the only way I can answer you this, the only way I can answer this is by asking you, do you even know what case I'm talking about? Because I'm getting a feeling that you don't.
Well, everyone's saying I know in the comments. That's for Kilmar Abrego Garcia to facilitate his return. I don't think that's the same thing you're talking about. No,
it isn't the same thing. I'm talking about a completely different case.
Okay. Yeah. No. Yeah. I think that's a different thing you're talking about. I'm just asking what the vote was on it.
On the case that I'm actually talking about?
Yes.
Okay. So 2 things were decided in this case. I'm gonna explain. I'll good faith explain this to you. There were 2 things decided. One, the first thing that was decided 5-4, and it was about which venue you must file these complaints in. Say the government deports you or is about to deport you illegally. The decision was, which venue do you have to submit your complaint in, your habeas claim? Where does it have to go? And the determination on that was 5-4, and the decision was that you must submit your habeas claim in the location you're being detained in, or in the jurisdiction you're being detained in. That's one. That's not what we're talking about here, but just to say. Okay. 2, there's a second decision made here, 9-0, and that decision was about, do these people even have due process rights? That was 9-0, completely agreed. And not only that, not only was it like, yes, they do, 9-0, they were like specific as fuck, and they called it out specifically because Trump, I mean, I can't say why, I can't read these fucking justices' head or minds. Seems to be the case that they called it out so very specifically and so very loudly in their writing because Trump wasn't giving these people due process. So they were like, hey, by the way, fucker, they get due process. Like they fucking, like, we're screaming it from the rooftops in this decision.
So what people get due process? You're saying
everyone. Literally, if you are, there's 2 distinctions.
Okay, no,
you get due process rights if you're on U.S. soil or if you're in U.S. custody. So if you're in another country, but the U.S. is holding you, you have due process rights in that case too.
I got you. So, me personally, I feel that American people should decide, even though the court has full authority now to say what that is. But the truth is, people in America, number one issue was the border, and now it's getting solved. And now, you got some people who don't like it. And there's plenty of polls where 70% of Americans want every single illegal immigrant deported no matter what. So I just think that the people have spoken. We voted on this. And, these judges, are you fucking serious? Is that common sense to let people in with no due process and now wait? Like, and you said we don't pay these courts when they go through this court system. We still have judges that are there sitting down, wasting their fucking time for no reason. We got it's a big waste of time. And you want these people out now. I don't have a fucking problem with Trump doing that at all. And most of America
What would
doesn't.
immigration judges be doing if not ruling on immigration cases? You said they're wasting their time. They're literally doing the only thing they're authorized to do. They're immigration judges. Their whole fucking life is doing immigration.
And who are they funded by?
Who is every single person that works for the government funded by?
Okay, so they're funded by the federal government. Do you think we need to be wasting our time with millions of cases when we can literally cut most of these people who are federally funded and just look at the ones that are truly fucking worth the time?
Yes.
Yeah. So
because the Constitution says that everyone gets due process. So I think that every single person deserves a hearing. How's it a money grab? You know, I pay taxes too. I just have more respect for the Constitution than you do. That's it. That's the basis. That is the literal basis. That is the basis of our disagreement. That's the only place we disagree on. Is I respect the Constitution more than you do. I pay taxes just like you do. My money's going to shit like this, just like yours is, and I think we should do it because the Constitution says we must.
Okay, two things. I believe in the Constitution. The separation of power with the judicial system, how they're deciding everything, even though the American people want something else, but we can't do anything about it because we can only appoint judges so often. This is what the American people want. We're in a age where in 2020 to 2024 something happened that has never happened before at an exponential basis where 10 million people flooded our fucking country. This is the shit that has to be done. And yeah, of course, we're in a situation where liberals don't like it.
I'm so confused. I thought you guys were I for my whole life, like growing up, I used to be a lot more conservative than I am now. Pre the ending of Trump's first term, I was a lot more conservative than I am now. And my whole life, I always was under the strong impression that the conservative, and honestly, this might have been part of the reason I was more conservative, is that I always thought that the conservatives were the party of protecting the Constitution. I always thought that. And maybe that's why, like I said, maybe that is why I was more conservative, because I've always just been a Constitution lover. I'm a fucking simp for that piece of paper, man. I really am. And it's mind-boggling to me that has just changed so radically over the last, like, you are genuinely,
this is
no bullshit. No bullshit. You're making an argument that it should be the voters, whatever president. Your argument is whatever president wins the popular vote should have the authority because they won the popular vote on that basis, because more people voted for them than the other person.
Not that Trump wants it. He got mandated to do it.
Because brain dead.
70% of people want these illegal immigrants deported.
Yeah, but then there's another problem is you're just making the fucking numbers up too. That's a whole other issue.
No, go look at Rasmussen, whatever their name is.
Okay.
Yeah, like 70% of that. Like, all right, for number one reason people voted in this election was the border. Okay, do you think those people voted because they wanted, and according to Atlas Intel, the best pollster in decades, they were literally spot on with the election compared to everyone else. That's besides the point. So this border issue that people came out and voted for, do you think that's because they wanted more illegal immigration or less?
I think probably everyone wants less illegal immigration.
Okay. So common sense, how are you going to want less illegal immigration when you incentivize people to come here illegally?
We're not talking about those. I also think we should change our immigration laws.
Yeah, but right now we have a severe problem on our hand because 10 million people flooded our country. So shit has to get done. We can circle back to this later, but over the last 4 years, we had a fucking invasion at our border that needs to be stopped. And I don't know why you guys have a problem with that. Shit happens where it's something that doesn't happen common. This 10 million people, that's never happened before in history. So yeah, we need to fix that.
I mean, it could be 70 million people, and it still is not an excuse to violate the Constitution. It could be it could be 300 billion people. It could be more people than are alive on the planet. It's not a fucking excuse to just throw away our founding document. So that shit doesn't matter anymore. Fuck it.
What you're saying is you'll die on the Constitution even if it kills you. Is what you're saying. Because we can all agree that illegal immigration is not a good thing. We can all agree that we're incentivizing illegal immigration. We can all agree Biden modified the CBP-1 app and let tens of millions of people come here and actually flew them in from other countries. We can all agree on this shit, but we can't agree that, hey, maybe the Constitution isn't perfect because we just got invaded by 10 million people and we can't send them back.
So notwithstanding the inaccuracies of everything you just said, yeah, I mean, the Constitution says what it says. We can't violate it just because we feel like it or because one side of the aisle thinks that there's a fucking huge issue that can only be... for one, by the way, I gotta say this. I've been arguing from the perspective of, like, we shouldn't violate the Constitution. There's two other factors. There's two completely other arguments that I haven't even touched that are arguably, well, not better. They're better for people like you that don't actually care if we violate the Constitution or not. First one being, if it was the case that if we do not violate the Constitution, then our country will cease to exist. If that really was true, if it really was the case that, like, our country is going to die if we don't violate this fucking document, we have a process to amend it. And if the problem was so severe that it was going to end our country, I think you could muster up the support to pass an amendment. We've passed plenty since
who gets to amend it?
What do you mean, who gets to amend it? Are you asking me because you don't know the process?
Yeah, tell me about the process about amending things.
Well, it's got to go through the House first, and it's got to go through the Senate, and then the states have to ratify it.
Okay, so at what point do we the people speak about the amendment?
Well, you elect your representatives and you elect your senators and you elect the fucking leadership of your state.
Okay, so what you're saying is we already elected the 435 people in the House, the 100 people in the Senate, but it's ultimately up to them to get it passed. Right? Yeah, and I agree with that.
It is up to them to do their fucking job. Yes, if it really was the case that there's an issue that's so huge and so country destroying that it needs to be solved by violating the Constitution, well, we just had elections. A lot of fucking Republicans that feel similarly to you just got elected. Tell them to do their fucking jobs. Then stop sitting here bitching and moaning and tell the people you elected to fucking get off their ass and do something.
To get it passed? 66%, right?
2/3.
It's 2/3, and you think any Democrat is going to vote for that?
No, I'm saying if the issue that's, I must have listen. No, I must have thrown the ball over your head. Let me try again. Any issue,
I jumped up and
any issue that was so country destroying that the only solution was to violate the Constitution, we'd be able to muster the support to amend the Constitution if that was the case. My contention is, it's not that big. It's not gonna destroy the fucking country if we just do things the legal way. Like, your argument is it's fucking mind-boggling. Your argument to me is that if we do not violate the due process clause of the Constitution, then our country will be destroyed. That is your argument.
Dude, that is a whole problem. The Democratic Party wants to destroy a country through illegal immigration. There's plenty of examples. Go look at Europe. Go look at Sweden. Go look at the life they lived 10 years ago versus what they do now. Especially look at Sweden. They're under Sharia law. I don't know if you guys like that on the left. Maybe you do. But they're getting taken over. And you guys, not you, sorry. I'm sorry for coming at you like this. But Democrats want to destroy America and our founding principles.
I would argue that America's founding principles are the Constitution, and the only side chipping away at them right now is yours.
Because I don't want illegal immigration.
Well, because there's a clause in the Constitution that says you cannot do this thing, and then you go,
let me tell you,
and then you go, nah, I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna do it anyway.
So what's a huge problem about us getting rid of these illegal immigrants?
Nothing.
And sending them back home.
There's absolutely no problem with that at all.
Okay, so what's your big thing about?
Hold on, I gotta get the dog to stop 1 second.
You guys say Trump is destroying America. He's not. Inflation is down.
Okay. All right. Hold on. Don't worry about them. All right. What was the question you asked Mary before she started tweaking?
Yeah,
she's still tweaking. Jesus Christ, Lucy. Here, hold up 1 second. She's just getting booted from the room. Come on, out. Let's go out.
Inflation's down, stock market, all that shit. You guys been lying about bullshit.
All right, what was that? What was the question you asked me right before?
Yeah. So, what is a big problem you have with us deporting illegal immigrants?
Nothing. I have no problem with deporting illegal immigrants at all.
Okay, sending them back home.
Nope.
Without
no problem.
trial.
No problem at all. Oh, without trial? Okay, different thing. Well, actually, kind of not a different thing. Without trial, I don't have an issue. Without anything, I have an issue.
Well, would you not say there's due process when we look them up in our social security number system and nothing's there and they don't have any supporting documents?
Nope.
Is that what? So why is that? Because I'm sure they go to ICE. Here's another revelation I just had. They go to ICE. They're given this due process right there. Do you have your documents or not?
The thing is, like, if you knew what due process was, you might be onto something. But you're just proving that you don't know what it is. Definitionally speaking, so do I. Good for you. Definitionally speaking, it cannot be due process if it's done by the party that is trying to implement the result, right? If ICE is trying to deport you, ICE can't give you due process. A neutral third party would have to. And I would argue that immigration courts aren't even that neutral because they're an executive branch agency 100% controlled by the Department. Like, the judges are put up by the Department of Justice and removed by the DOJ. So that's not even that neutral, but I'm okay with that because it's something. But it definitionally so must be a neutral party. It must. So definitionally so. For instance, if the FBI raided your house right now and they arrested you on suspicion of murder, and they threw you in jail and they set a trial date for you, and then you showed up to your trial and the FBI agent that arrested you was sitting at the bench as the judge for your case, you'd be like, yo, what the fuck? Like, of course you're gonna get convicted. This is the guy that arrested me is my judge. Yeah, that's not how the shit works. That's not how our process works.
Yeah, but that's not what's happening though.
It is exactly what is happening. I don't know if you can I don't know if you can read something that isn't Fox News, but we've got like 7 court cases you can go through. We've got like 7 different court cases you could go through right now if you just took a little time out of your day, where you could just read the government admit that this is what's happening. You could read SCOTUS admit that this is what's happening.
I literally got to read liberal media just to show you guys, show liberal people sources from their own mouths and words. But
I'm sorry, is a Supreme Court decision liberal media with that whole 6-3 Supreme Court?
No, not that.
Okay,
no.
All right. So you can just read the Supreme Court say exactly what I just said in their words, and then you'd have it.
Yeah, I mean,
for instance, I'm actually looking at a decision right now of the Supreme Court. I'm looking at a section of a Supreme Court decision saying what I literally just said. Like, these deportations, especially, this is in relation to the Alien Enemies Act, sending people over to the CCOT in El Salvador. In relation to that, like, SCOTUS already concluded that the people that were sent on those initial flights were given no due process at all. They were literally just chucked in a fucking van and then thrown on a plane.
But what's your problem, though?
Well, you just said, right? Well, now my issue is that literally like 2 seconds before that, you said that's not what's happening, and then I'm just telling you, well, no, it did. So
no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about this that analogy you made up with Schmurder. That's not this. That's not.
Well, it is the same thing. If ICE grabs you and then ICE says, "Yep, you're guilty," and then the next day you're in jail, then that is what's happening.
Guess what, dude? All you need is a simple document saying you're here. You can literally, and the reason I say I can recite my social by heart, because literally that's enough information for me to give to ICE.
Generally speaking, like, just whether or not you can produce, because especially like I don't know. You seem to not have like any grasp at all about how our court systems actually work in process. So let me just give you the lowdown on immigration courts.
Bud. I've been in the
you said that
appellate court, Supreme Court.
Well, you said that you've been in the Supreme Court. That's sick. That's sick, dude. You said that we have to pay for their lawyers in reference to immigration court. So you already just like spit out like a huge like red flag about what I'm saying.
What is your real issue with deporting illegal immigrants when literally ICE can check if they have a social or not, boom, and they fucking know it. They know what they're doing. Can you give me one case where they deported a United States citizen? Can you give me one case?
Didn't they literally just deport like 4 fucking U.S. citizen children like within this week? Didn't they just do that?
Here that is. Under the law, at least one of your parents has to be a United States citizen.
Yep.
Number 2, okay, so if they're both illegal, cancel those kids out. Number 2, some of those people wanted to take their kids back home.
Do you know
So what are
what's
on,
what the don't why do you do this like fucking brain dead citation of like under U.S. law when you cite whatever law you think you're citing, you cite
Birthright
wrong.
Citizenship Act, you got to have at least one parent who's documented. Look it up.
That is that what you said?
That's what I just said.
No, you said when you were like, under U.S. law. One of the things, maybe you said that first, and I just didn't hear it. The one of the things you said was if the non-citizen in the relationship would like to take the children with them.
About the 0.1%.
If the non-citizen in the relationship, I don't know why you're talking to chat. I'm gonna keep talking. If the non-citizen in the relationship wants to take the kid, then they could just take the kid. That's what you said. Absolutely not the fucking case. Not even slightly. Also, if there's no process given, you don't actually know if the non-citizen in question actually wanted to take the kid. You don't have a fucking clue, and you never will because there was no process given. At least if we sat him down in front of a fucking IJ, you'd at least have you'd have the transcript of the proceeding where maybe even if that was the case that the person could
take their kid, dude.
Even if the person could unilaterally make the decision.
It's not to keep their kid. They have to take. It
is a decision. If there is a non-citizen that is with if there's a kid whose say father is a citizen and mother is a non-citizen, and the mother is being deported, the kid can stay with the father in America.
Yeah. So show me a case where at least one of their parents was a U.S. citizen, and if so, just show me that first. Because if they're both undocumented and they just had a kid here, and now what morally, what are we supposed to do? The kid just born, send both their parents back and throw that kid to adoption? Fuck no, I don't think that's a moral thing to do. But the truth is, both their parents were undocumented, so the kid has to go back. And you guys are saying this shit like this is 0.001%. Too bad 80% of the fucking world, according to Fox News, 66 according to Rasmussen, 60% according to CNN, agree with me. They want every single illegal immigrant deported, no matter what.
Just to be clear. Super clear. The no matter what right there is doing so much fucking heavy lifting for you. It's unhinged how much heavy lifting it's doing.
Good.
The no matter what is doing crazy work for your argument. Because you're wrong, that isn't the case. The no matter what, the current illegal deportations are absolutely humongously unfavorable. So we can just start there.
And not to mention, you guys are talking about 4 cases out of millions of cases that 10 million people had to be deported. 4, so you're not going to be happy about the 99 point fucking 999999996% that got deported in what we asked for. Number one reason voter turnout was for the border for the 10th time. And you're mad about that these 2 parents were undocumented and we weren't going to separate the family, that the kid had to go back with their parents? You're going to pick out that one.
Somebody throw the names in chat of these people. I think one of the stories, there was like 3 moms that were deported and then 4 kids total. And I'm pretty sure in at least one of these cases, their dad was a citizen. And okay, let me add a big clarifier. The dad was a citizen and wanted to keep the kid in America. And ICE just grabbed the mom and the kid and chucked them out like next day, with no. That this is why due process is important.
Okay, so
they could have had a hearing. They could have had a hearing. Okay, chat's saying the dad was
the dad wants to keep it. The mom wants to keep it. Like you guys, not you, dude. I fucking hate saying you, but you guys take a fucking stock market crash one day. You say Trump is crashing the economy. It's down 1.5%. This is what liberal media does. There's 99% going right. You guys take the 1% and blow it up to something when in all actuality, we're in this fucking mess because Biden and Kamala. Okay. So what the fuck?
So I'm just gonna unpivot you back to where we were just at. So you did the pivot. I'm just gonna fucking yoink you right back to where we just were.
All right.
So this is why due process is important. If it is the case that you have a citizen father that has a kid with an undocumented mother and the ICE comes along like, hey, we're gonna deport this mom. Like even like that in and of itself is like, I mean, yeah, that's how our law. That's our law. Like, sorry, like that's how it goes. And the mom goes, well, I want to keep the kid. And the dad goes, well, I want to keep the kid. Like, it's your argument is that it's ICE's decision. Like it's ICE's call who gets the kid. The fuck? But by the way, that kid is an American citizen. We can't deport American citizens. That's
All right, so
a fucking
right
big
here.
old 8th Amendment violation. I don't know what the...
So if the mom, just right here, if the mom is caught with the kid, the mom's a legal immigrant, can't prove her citizenship, wants to take her kid right then and there. They don't even know where the fucking dad is. They take them in. They send them back home. The dad all of a sudden says he wants a kid back. It is what it is, dude.
Well, see, that's not how it went down in this particular case. While the mom
Well,
and
how
the
did it
child,
go down?
while the mom and the kids were in ICE custody, the dad was petitioning the courts the entire time, like, "Hey, my fucking kid, my kid's about to be deported, along with my girlfriend, whatever. I don't know what the fuck she was to him. Like, they're about to fucking
the
ICE is about to
girlfriend
fucking
needs to be
deport my
deported.
kids. I want to keep my kids here. They need to stay here." And then boof, off they went.
Don't you think that if he wanted his wife not to be deported, that they should have got married?
Now maybe I'm wrong, and maybe you're paying more attention to the conversation than I am. I doubt it, but maybe. I don't remember saying jack diddly dick about the wife being deported. I remember very specifically talking about the kids.
Yeah, and if he cared about his kids on top of that, don't you think that maybe they should get married?
Yeah, I must need to do some more looking into this conversation because chat, let's assume chat. I know you're gonna be like, well, maybe they're lying.
Do we even know that's his kid?
Chat is really fucking like blowing your shit up. Apparently, this story is so much. You're defending like some horrific shit. Apparently, right now. Apparently,
I don't think
this
so.
story
Do
is
we
apparently
even know
worse than
that's
I
his
thought.
kid?
Huh?
Do we even know that's his kid?
Well, he claimed it was his kid in court.
Like, well, that's his girlfriend, but like,
Apparently, it's his wife. Apparently, they were actually married.
why wouldn't?
I don't know.
Okay, they were married. Okay,
Apparently.
let's pull it up and let's show the screen. They're giving you all the information, so just shut me up and show the information.
Well, we don't even need to like get into this specific case, right? Can't we just do the concept on principle? Because the principle you're arguing for is that it's ICE's decision, which you want ICE to be like custody like judges now. You want ICE agents to be family court judges now too.
I want them to do their job as someone's illegal.
Well, their job's not to deport American citizens, and those children are American citizens.
Absolutely not. That woman was not an American citizen.
Yeah, but the kids are, and they got deported too.
Okay, why did they not show documentation to ICE?
The 2-year-old, why didn't the 2-year-old show documentation to ICE?
Yeah, like, does he even know how to read a fucking social security number?
All right, guys, someone else come up. Someone else request. That was my last straw. I put up with a lot of shit. Listen to me. I put up with a lot of shit during that conversation, but that was the end of me. That was the end of me. That had to be it. I put up with a lot of shit, bro, in that combo. All right, look. If you're in the chat, click the follow. But that broke you? Yeah. What he's like, what? The kid didn't show their social security card? I'm like, okay. I'm like, what? I'm gonna throw myself off a cliff. Okay, I don't know, bro. Yo, click the follow button, guys. Listen to me. We're gonna get into the next conversation. I'm bringing up another guest. That one was unhinged, brother. This guy has the same name as me, so I inherently I have to accept this guy because same name, gang. You know how it is. Man, that one got me. Can't the kid show his social security card? Oh yeah, there was probably gifts during that I need to acknowledge. Oh my god. Gravel for gold. Thank you for the heart me. Callisto, thank you for the 15 heart puffs. Hugh, thank you for the heart me. The Joey Project, thank you for the heart me. Sassy Girl with the heart me. Ella, Melissa, Brendo, yep. Jim. Was it Miss Chimster? I think. Heart me. Poofy and Callisto. Thank you guys all for the heart me's during that conversation. I appreciate it. And also for Twitch and YouTube chat. Sorry, I've been very much ignoring you guys. Like you guys that watch frequently know that I really never. Benji, holy shit. Benji, how many ice creams was that? Windu, thank you for the heart me. And Benji, I have to scroll back up to find where it actually came through. It was a lot. Benji with all the 31 ice creams. Thank you, Benji. Yeah, sorry. You guys that watch me a lot know that I try my damnedest, whoever the fuck I'm talking to. All right? Anyway, I'm gonna bring up the next guest. I tried to bring up a guy named Andrew because we have the same name. I thought that'd be cool, but he disconnected as he was coming up, so that's unfortunate. But we've gained 75 followers this live. We can make that number like 150 before I have to go for the day. That'd be sick. Oh, Audrey wants to come up. Well, you know the rules. Subscribers always get first pick. Always. Subscribers always get first pick. What's up, Audrey?
Hey, did that even go through?
Did what?
Did that I feel like I was trying to I had an issue with my card, so I'm trying to oh,
I saw something.
did it come through?
Super recently, but I don't know what it was.
I hope it did. If not,
I saw you sent one rose. I saw that.
Well, I tried to send more, but I guess I am having my card actually officially was like, no, you need to update it. So, first of all, I love you. By the way, you are phenomenal. Really, just because like I really respect that you are respectful to the point where you like you're incapable of being respectful.
Yeah, until I break.
Yes, and I think what a lot of people don't understand is like we're all breaking with you. Like we are all like, no, enough is enough. Like, but we have to understand where these people are coming from. And I do think that I've noticed where you've got a couple different types of people, like when it comes to your Trump people. You've got the type that are like, oh my God, like what? And then actually 3 types. And then you've got the type that are like completely, you can change them. You can completely turn them. And then you got the guys kind of like our last guy who he kind of failed towards the end, but like you do have some where they're legit trying to understand, right? Like they may come from a family who is just hell bent on this, and like they're trying to support their family, their upbringing, where they come from, what they've been taught their whole life versus what they're actually really coming to terms with.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've noticed that too. I get a different breed. I get different breeds of Trump supporters. Some of them are, some of them actually want to talk, and they're like, well, this is what I think. What do you think? And then we go back and forth. And then there's the Matthews of the world that are just like, Matthew is one step away from saying like we should just start executing illegal immigrants. I was like, bro.
Oh, I've heard some people in your thread where I'm just like, dude, do I have to pay to like get them off of here? Because like your point is that irrelevant. You can't argue with stupid kind of thing. But you can only if there's something worth arguing for. But I realize in your chats with these people, you have all walks of life with Trump supporters, and I would imagine you have all sorts of walks of life with Democrats. I'm not really either. I'm realizing now I should have voted. I never voted because I wasn't really like into like whatever anybody. I just felt like nobody like really got like this generation of people that are coming in, and I get that. But I'm also very old school. I'm old school, but I'm new school, right? And I think we would all like to think of ourselves as that, depending on what level generation we come from. I think it's really, really difficult to you kind of almost want to ask somebody like, where are you coming from? Because like I got family members in farming and cattle raising rural places in the country. We're talking southeastern Colorado, next to Kansas, and the panhandle of Oklahoma. They're Trump all day. But guess what's happening to them? They've been going down ever since like 2015. They've been losing water rights. All the farms that I used to see where grandpas were like holding their granddaughters and riding their tractors. Guess what's happening? They're all gray. They're all tan. They're all losing everything. I witnessed it, and I'm in Michigan, outside of the Detroit area, and before that I was in the Dallas area. and before that, I was from Oregon. And I bounced back and forth between all of these places. So I am going in between all these places in the country, and I'm seeing things happen over the course of 10, 15, 20 years. It's been happening. So I get why the Trump supporters are like, why are you saying this is all happening now? I've witnessed it happening. I think it's a capitalism issue. I think we are deep into capitalism. And I think Trump supporters are like, yeah, we need to eradicate capitalism and get everything back to the states. Like, we are not structured as such. We are not structured as such. And I don't think anybody that is not able to to think in a complex manner in world trade, where certain minerals and things are sourced, and like Trump's gonna bring it back to America. You know, we're like 30 years out from that, and you know how many people are gonna have to lose jobs and get paid like bunk wages just for you to get back up to that. And also for the people, again, and you and I have had this talk where people are like, yeah, well, we have to vet these people and we have to do this. I am 100% with everybody on that. I think we are in a new stage of time. We've got technology rapidly advancing before laws are even able to establish what's acceptable and not. But I don't think these, like, and I hate to say it like that, but these racist individuals, and I'm ranting, you know, I keep going. Yeah, so your ancestors are not native to this land. Are you Native American? No, you are not. Maybe you are a little bit. I happen to be 25% because my grandpa grew up on a reservation. So I actually am 25%. I'm also 25% German, and that's weird. But, you know, so the people committing a Holocaust, and then like the people who, like, you know, whatever. It's not, it is what it is. But all of these people who are saying we need to do this, we need to do that, your ancestors weren't vetted. When you came over here as Irish from the potato famine, your ancestors weren't vetted. They were dying. They were freaking dying. When you came over here from this country, they weren't vetted. They were dying. The only reason you are here, period, is because your ancestors lived in a country where they were welcome when they were being persecuted on their own land. Just because you're white doesn't mean you weren't being persecuted over there. And I'm done.
All right.
Sorry.
Generally speaking, no, you're good. Generally speaking, you're right. Ultimately, like, I can boil down like most of what you're saying to like a few sentences. Ultimately, what you're saying is, it seems to be the case that you have these MAGA supporters that have very, very strong ideas about what they want when it comes to immigration or economics or whatever. They have very strong ideas about what it is they think will be good, but they're just not very well thought through, because ultimately the ideas that they're supporting are either contradictory to their own interests in some cases, like when it comes to like immigration. Your whole thing about like, brother, you fucking got here, unless you're Native American, you got here through immigration, so just getting rid of the immigration system altogether is ridiculous. And the second that you hit on a point about conservatives seeming to have a habit of super straw manning arguments. I deal with this a lot doing debates with people where I get straw manned to a ridiculous degree, where they'll be like, oh, so you just want infinite illegal immigration. I'm like, that's not what I said. That's definitely not what I said. No, what the fuck? Yeah. Exactly. So yeah. And then.
No, we have a problem. I'm recognizing we have a problem, but not the.
I do the same thing. Yeah, I do the same thing. I'm like, yeah, there's there's holes in our immigration system. Definitely. I did it with the last guy. I was like, there's problems. There's changes I would make, but like the changes I would make don't involve getting rid of due process. That's crazy.
They're not radical.
It's insane.
They're not radical. I think it's very easy for someone in a certain stance to say that, but I don't think they understand how offensive they are coming across. And I also don't think they understand they are actually outnumbered with that bullshit. I mean, in my opinion, like you actually very well may be like all the Trump people. They're like everyone voted for this. Actually, no, they
Yeah,
didn't.
he barely won the
like
popular vote. I love that argument too. Like he won in a landslide. Like motherfucker, he barely won the popular vote. What are we talking about here?
I didn't vote. If I would have known this is what was signing up for me not voting, I would have voted in the opposite. But
Yeah.
and I'm also gonna let a lot of Republicans and Proud Boys here know, just because you're a Republican or a Proud Boy, don't ever think for a second that Democrats don't have guns, mofos. We all got guns. We all
quite a
got
few.
guns. So like they all think they're like, oh, we're gonna take off this whole.
Well, that's
like,
my favorite thing is whenever
it's like no, actually, y'all don't understand. Democrats actually
educational purposes only. Jim makes a good point. Educational purposes only. Educational purposes only. No, I hear that argument all the time because most of what I do is argue for protecting the Constitution, and then I get like conservatives that'll be like, "Oh yeah, but you don't care about the Second Amendment." I'm like, "When did I say that, bro? Do you know how many guns I have? A fucking lot. Like I love the Second Amendment. Shut up. They're goofy."
It is. It's like they like one argument, but they don't understand that we actually have your argument, but we also have like 10 plus come at us when you actually like get to an intellectual level where you can actually get with us.
Yeah. All right, Audrey, I'm gonna bring up a disagreeer, or I think next guest.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Have a good one.
You're the best. You too.
Okay. We bring up the next person. All right, next guest is coming up. Real quick before the next guest gets here, click the follow. Oh my god, click the follow button. Can you guys hear me anymore? Wait, hold on. I don't know why that came through. Click the follow button. And all right, I'm gonna do two things real quick, and then we're gonna bring up the next guest. We're gonna bring up one more guest today. There's a person sitting in the queue right now. Marcus is going to be our final guest for the day, so I hope he brings something good for us. But before I do, I actually need you guys to answer a question for me. I'm going to throw a poll up on the screen. I need you guys to answer this poll because it's going to inform what I do going forward. It's going to be a yes or no poll. Okay. Go red, go smiley face if you say yes, and go crying face if you say no. Should I do the green screen thing where I have the text, the claim for the debate? You know, I would say like Trump is a terrible president or Trump is destroying the Constitution or something like that. Red is yes, you know, the smiley face is yes, and the crying face is no. Should I do that going forward? Vote with your emojis. Okay. Okay, it's overwhelmingly yes. Okay, so starting tomorrow, I'm gonna start doing that. I don't necessarily love doing that because I think it makes the camera lag a little bit more. I think it, like right now, the stream is generally around, it looks like it's maybe around like 45 FPS, something like that. When I do the green screen effect, it drops it down to like 30 and it looks a little weirder, but the vote is concluded. Okay, I'm gonna bring up our final guest of the day. Again, click the follow button if you're not following. We've almost gained 100 followers on the day. So if we could get to 100 before we get out of here, that'd be sick. I'm gonna bring up the next guest. I'm gonna forewarn you and Marcus. Marcus, I know you can hear me right now. This conversation has to be under 10 minutes. I'm gonna start a 10-minute timer, and at the end of 10 minutes, I got a dip. Okay? I'm gonna bring you up. This has to be a 10-minute convo. Marcus, did you hear what I said about the length of this conversation?
I heard what you said about 10 minutes.
Okay, perfect. All right, let's get to it. What do you want to talk about?
Well, I'm a Republican.
That's good.
Have been a politician, and I'm on the Board of Education in Alabama.
Okay.
I'm a Dayton, one of the Dayton founding father family. 11th grandfather was George Washington's right-hand man. 10th was the youngest person to sign the Constitution. So the reason why I have something to say is because everybody keeps talking about Republicans. Here's the thing. There's a difference between a MAGA-nite and a Republican.
There absolutely is. Real Republicans would never stand for constitutional violations, ever.
Exactly. So, you have an individual who got elected because he was a reality TV star. I'm 55 years old. I've lived through the results of what we did. We started out at the time when I turned 18. We wanted to rock the vote. We wanted, instead of the average person being 52 years old that voted, we wanted to make the average person now 27 years old. The only problem with that is you take the deal that Stanford and TCU and Miami and Harvard all participated in. One of the reasons why Trump hates them. You run a family, and it's funny because you take a reality TV show family and you run an analysis on your campuses and you get back a result that all but 2 family members of a Kardashian family, who are a bunch of morons, who became billionaires. Here's the thing. If they can become president, you can make anybody president. And you make somebody who we didn't want. And here's the thing. You had a lot of people like Mitch, that said over and over, and I would have still voted for him because I'm a diehard Republican. I voted for him the first time around. I figured, well, I'm a bit of a liberal Republican. I figured he'd stick to his democratic ways. To be honest with you, most people, I didn't vote for him the last time, but most people felt that were Republicans that voted and said, okay, well, I'll go ahead and vote for him. But even now, most of them thought when they voted for him that he would stick to being a Democrat the way he had always been. We wouldn't get all this. This is craziness. But I'm going to tell you something. You can look me up. You can look up the Dayton family. We started Target. I'm one of the 7 Mark Daytons. We're like the Foremans. We name everybody Mark instead of George, okay? So you can look me up in Alabama. You can Google me. It's pretty simple. At this particular point and juncture of where we stand at, this gentleman needs to be impeached. He has to come out. We've made a mistake because I am a very wealthy man, and I'm not going to deny it was wonderful seeing my taxes go down 16% this year. And I've made a lot of money off of a really good accountant guy that told me sell everything, and everybody goes, you're really going to sell everything in January? And I said, I'm going to take a shot at it. Like even my ex-wife, who makes money off of me, said, you're really going to sell all your stock? And I said, I'm going to sell everything but the family shares of Target because I can't. So I sold everything. I'm buying it all back at a bargain basement amount, and I made a lot of money off of shorting stocks. I'm not going to not make money. That's it's what we do, okay? But I also have employees that work for me who have lost their 401ks, that have all kinds of issues going on, who have family members who aren't getting their Social Security right now, who aren't getting the health care that they want. I'm on the Board of Education. I just watched a massive cut come to all my constituents of children who aren't going to get fed unless somebody else like me puts up $2.6 million to feed them this year. And I can't cover everybody, and a lot of people like me can't. This guy has got to go, and he's not a Republican. That's one of the things that I've watched your show quite a few times, and I want to get it across to people, which you just said. Real Republicans support the Constitution. We don't do this stuff. Real Republicans, and I'm going to tell you an argument I had recently with a Magnite. Here's a friend of mine, because that's what you're doing. If you watched the 100 Days, Terry was arguing with a guy like you're arguing with somebody who's still stuck in the Magnite world, like the trumpets that want to keep saying he's the greatest thing underneath the sun. When we're dealing with a person like this, you have to look at what every single person says. And when the difference between us and them is real Republicans, and you mentioned real Republicans, there are a few that still stand up, and like myself, I'm a Republican politician. Trust me, I had a discussion just recently with Rubio when he asked me if I wanted to be vetted to take over the SCFSMA, and I said I don't want to do that. I'm going to stick to maybe running for Senate in Alabama. Here's the problem. You wonder what's going on in Congress? Ask yourself, ask Katie Britt, who trumpets for him, okay? She knows that if she runs her mouth, Elon Musk is going to pay and few other billionaires. Well, Bezos is out now; he's not going to stick with them anymore. But a few other billionaires are going to remove themselves because they know that they're going to not win. At this point, you can buy any election you want. It's that simple. Run enough ads, convince enough people, and the average American just believes anything that they hear anymore. And anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, you're definitely right. I try to stress that point every once in a while that like what we're seeing right now from Trump and his cronies is not these aren't Republicans. They're not real Republicans. Would never like a person that was actually like a true Republican would never allow a constitutional violation to happen and then get asked about it in an interview and sweep for Trump and be like, oh well, it's okay that would just never happen. It never in a million years. So
the man doesn't even have the Constitution hanging in his office. Every president has done that.
Yeah,
he looked at the Declaration of Independence and he said it was a unity agreement. I mean, come on, people. This is not a Republican. I mean, my family members, some of them, you look up Mark Brandt, who was governor of Minnesota. You look up Mark Matthew, who was a senator in Florida. We're family business is politics, okay? Even though we make money off of businesses. But here's the thing, even as Democrats and Republicans, we're all coming together. We're standing for the thing that my great-grandfather 10 signed. You know, like the Constitution means more than one guy's vanity. So, anyways.
No, yeah.
I just want to make it a point across to a lot of your followers. You guys lump us in together and we're not with them anymore. Look at the numbers. Look at, if Alabama isn't with them anymore, if the governor of Alabama is just sitting there saying, I can't even say anything against this guy, which I've talked to Kay quite often, I can't say anything. She goes, and the thing is, if I say anything, he'll figure out who he's going to run down here. Let's just figure out who we want to run. Tommy Tuberville wants to run, and he is a Magonite. He has drank the Kool-Aid to the end of the earth, but that's okay because Tommy Tuberville wasn't even an Alabamian. He was living in Florida. He was a football coach who managed to get himself elected because he lied just like Trump did. And we won't end up electing him governor here. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, generally speaking, every time I hear someone say like, "Well, you know, Republicans need to stand up against this," I'm like, "Well, Republicans aren't going to stand up against this." Like, in Congress at least, right? Like, congressional Republicans aren't going to do jack shit because
after the midterms.
Yeah,
after the midterms.
After midterms, yeah, after midterms, sure. Yeah,
that's what happens when they're reelected and they know because there's never going to be a third.
Yeah, pre 2026, definitely not.
I'll vote for Obama.
Yeah,
so.
Pre 2026, definitely not. Just because they know that if they do. That's their ass. Like they're, you know what I mean?
Exactly. And that's what you've had a lot of people on your, it's a pretty good show, bro. I like what you're doing and you're pretty logical about all of it. I mean, there's a couple other ones I follow. Johnny is okay, but he's gotten a little crazy about bullying everybody. So, you've got a logical format here, but what I want to try and get across is there's a big difference between a Republican and a Magonite. And even Trump is now like our legislator here, our biggest guy who's in charge of the Republican Party here said, we're not a MAGA, like he said, we're the MAGA party. We're not MAGA, we're Republicans. We made a mistake. We made a mistake last year and we made a mistake. But not only that, but look at the average voter that voted for him. A lot of them didn't even declare parties. Like there were a lot of independents that voted for him, younger people who thought that he was gonna. And I own a logistics company. All my truck drivers the first time around went crazy for this guy. Trust me, how many stickers we had to remove from trailers and trucks or whatever. Everybody supported him. 2.7 million. When he kept talking about I had the largest amount of write-in votes ever. There is no such thing as a write-in vote. It's an absentee ballot. So, but here's the thing. Those absentee ballots, look at the states that they happen in. Those were truck drivers voting for him. They didn't vote for him this time. They didn't. He, like the young lady said earlier, he didn't win by any massive margin, even though he said it again on the show, on the 100 Years ABC show. I won, but look at how we won by so much. You didn't win, and you fought and you bought the popular vote. I can tell you one thing that I know as a Republican politician and as a pretty powerful family in this country. We all knew, Democrats and Republicans, we could have told you before the election happened, especially after Biden stepped out and Kamala stepped in and they didn't hold a primary to figure out who was going to run. A bunch of billionaires decided that they wanted Kamala, okay? And that's why they ran her, okay? So here's the thing. We all knew it was over. You want to know why? Because you never heard Trump say about winning the election anymore. All he ever talked about was winning the popular vote. We're almost all it's a very common thing. It's conspiracy theory, but it's a very common thing amongst Republican politicians that we think that he figured out, you know, who the votes were. It's not the people, you know, it's the it doesn't come down to that. If everybody understands how you get elected president, somehow or another, if somebody comes to you, you're supposed to sign an agreement. You know, if you're holding a vote for your state, and we knew when he started talking about the popular vote, we knew that he had figured out who the Electoral College was. He knew that he had them. He had bought them. He had figured out how to get them. He played the Scientology game, he had a lot of dirt on him, or he had bought them. And once you buy that Electoral College, you're going to win swing states. That's the way it works. I'm sorry, but you can buy an election anymore. It's the truth. You might as well all accept it. You can buy an election now.
Yep. All right, Marcus, that's our 10.
All right, it's been 10 minutes, brother.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Have a good one.
You too.
Thanks. Okay. That's it. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Click the follow button on your way out. We'll be back live tomorrow. We are going to be returning at some point tomorrow, hopefully early. I know you guys don't fucking follow, or you guys don't believe me anymore when I say that, because I always say I'll be on earlier tomorrow, and then I never am. I understand. If you don't believe me, I get it. I understand. And the poll we ran determined that we're going to do the whole green screen and put the debate claim up on the screen tomorrow. Some people, a lot of you guys seem to think that it'll help with viewership and with people requesting to come up and everything. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to trust the poll, trust the viewers, trust the chat. Tomorrow we'll have the screen. And then, like I said, hopefully we'll be on sooner tomorrow than we were today. But I totally understand if you don't believe me, because every time I've said that this week, I've been so wrong. Thank you, Epiphone. I appreciate it. And thanks for all the follows, guys. If we can get, by the way, if we get 4 more follows before I click the end stream button, we will hit 100 today. We will have had 100 from this live, which was the original goal. So now 3 more follows. 3 more, and we hit the goal. All right. Anyway, Twitch and YouTube. Thank you guys for being here. Everyone that was watching on Twitch and YouTube today, I appreciate it.